Number 10. Angelina Jolie. You would imagine that two people who consider themselves to be humanitarians would agree on something, but apparently that is not the case between Angelina Jolie and Miss Oprah Winfrey. According to an insider close to Oprah, Angelina actually refused to help her launch her Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for girls in South Africa. According to the source, Oprah reached out seeking celebrity sponsorships and public backing for the project. But when she reached out to Angelina, she was met with a swift no. Oprah assumed that Angelina, of all people, would jump at the chance to represent such an incredible cause, especially considering how much Angelina apparently loved Africa. But the no was a devastation, and she would never ask for Angie's help ever again. Many people believe that the hate towards Oprah stems from her decision to publicly side with Jennifer Aniston after she split from Angie's ex, Brad Pitt. Hey, to be fair to Oprah, the split came literally weeks before Brangelina became public, so I'm just saying. Number 9. Ice Cube. Ice may have gotten his career thanks to his epic music chops, both as a solo artist as well as during his time with the NWA, but these days you probably know him as the guy from Ride Along or 21 Jump Street. Ice Cube started acting in movies in 1991, debuting in the film Boys in the Hood as Doughboy. He continued to act over and over again, starring in movies like Friday, Anaconda, and Are We There Yet? His dislike for Oprah comes from the fact that while he has starred in several movies and has become more widely known for that, she has never invited him onto her show. She's even asked his co-stars to appear rather than himself on multiple occasions. In 2006, Ice Cube expressed his frustrations, saying that his barbershop co-stars Cedric the Entertainer and Eve were invited onto the show while he was left onto the sidelines. He pointed out how crazy it is that Oprah has all of these people with dark pasts and straight up convictions. Plus, if he wasn't a rags to riches story, who the heck was? We got a little piece of that story in the film Straight Outta Compton in 2015, which is a film that received massive critical success and that was never mentioned on Oprah's show. Ever. Not once. Number 8. Seal. This man may be known for his vocal chops, but he should be known for his meme-making abilities. Just days after the Golden Globes in 2018, Seal posted a meme on Instagram consisting of several photos of Oprah Winfrey cozying up with a man whose name I am not allowed to say on the internet because he's so heinous. He's the guy who produced half of Quentin Tarantino's movies, he's the main cause of the Me Too movement, and for the rest of this entry he shall be referred to as Jabba the Hutt, because he kinda looks like him. Oprah and Jabba were photographed spending time together, and one photo even made it look like Oprah was pushing singer Rita Ora towards Mr. Hutt. Seal captioned the image saying a bunch of stuff that I can't quote, gosh darn internet. The meme itself read, "When you have been part of the problem for a decade, but suddenly they all think you are the solution." I'm not sure how deep this feud goes, but on the surface it seems that Seal has been trying to warn us that something is going on for quite some time. Number 7. Ludacris. Luda! Sorry, I just needed to get that out of my system. Ludacris appeared on Oprah in 2004 to promote the film Crash. He claimed that Oprah ambushed him with criticism about hip-hop lyrics instead of talking about the actual critically acclaimed movie that he was there to plug. Luda has since claimed that Oprah edited the show to make herself seem more favorable to the audience members, and he said during a separate interview that she edited out all of his comments and kept her own in. Of course, it's her show, but they were doing a show on racial discrimination, and she gave Luda a hard time as a rapper when he came on the show as an actor. Luda revealed that his interview was extremely last minute, not knowing if it was a real thing until roughly 24 hours before. Following the interview on Oprah, she pulled Luda aside to the green room where he claims to have been berated by the talk show host. According to Oprah, having a rapper on her show made her feel like she was empowering them. He said it was like being at someone's house who just really didn't want you there. At that point, he had already been so uncomfortable, but that was just a little bit of cherry on top of the sundae. Her main concern was his use of the N-word in lyrics, but he quickly pointed out the hypocrisy of having people like Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock on the show who were famous for using that slur in their sets. Oprah's shadiness was on full display following the interview from Luda. Nope, I can't say it normally, I'm sorry. Number 6, Monique. The beef between comedian and actress Monique and Oprah Winfrey dates back to 2010. Monique won an Oscar for her performance in Precious from 2009, and leading up to the film's premiere, Winfrey interviewed Monique's brother, Gerald, who Monique claimed to have been very physical towards her growing up in a truly dark way that I really can't get into. In a since-deleted Periscope video, Monique claimed that she gave Winfrey her blessing to do the interview, but was shocked and disgusted when her parents were in the audience. In the years that followed, Monique eventually forgave forgave Oprah for creating such an uncomfortable moment for herself and her family, and while forgiving Oprah, she does continue to say that she would never forgive her parents for the role that they played and for not doing something about the situation that was happening right under their noses. Oprah really needs to stop bringing people on the show to talk about some dark stuff. It's just not fun. It's just not fun. Number 5, Whoopi Goldberg. In author Kitty Kelly's unauthorized Oprah biography, Kelly claims that Whoopi Goldberg became a persona non grata, aka an unwelcome person, to Oprah after Whoopi was nominated for an Oscar for her role in The Color Purple. The book noted that following the honor, the comedian never appeared on Oprah's show again and was noticeably shunned from her 2006 Legends Ball. It wasn't until Oprah invited the entire cast of The Color Purple onto the show that the so-called feud was addressed. It turns out that Oprah had actually ran into Whoopi at Tyler Perry's party sometime after the 2006 snub. Goldberg confronted Oprah, leading to a hilariously adorable moment between them. She asked Oprah why she was mad at her, to which Oprah replied, "Why am I mad at you? I thought you were mad at me." They mutually agreed that they really should have just picked up the phone a long time ago and settled the dispute, so to say. Number 4, David Letterman. A majority of the world believes that Oprah's feud with David Letterman dates back to 1995 after he made an awkward joke at the Academy Awards. But Letterman claims that their beef actually started a lot earlier than that. According to an interview between David and late-night host Jon Stewart, David claims that his feud with Oprah began many years before the Oscars. He explained that he ran into Oprah when they were both on vacation with other people. He explained that she was with Stedman at the time, and David was with his then-girlfriend, Regina. David decided it would be really funny to prank Oprah one day at lunch. The story goes that the waiter walked past him, and he simply pointed to Oprah and said, "This woman right over there has been kind enough to take care of our checks." And then they got up and left Oprah with the bill. Yeah, I'm not surprised that she's not stoked about that. Even millionaires don't appreciate sneaky people. Winfrey has never cited that as being the source of her anger, though. Apparently, she felt that the feud began when she was a guest on his talk show in 1986. David continued to make rude jokes at her expense and made her feel extremely uncomfortable. She did not speak to him for 16 years after that. David is a strange man, especially when it comes to female guests, so it's not a surprise that she was uncomfortable the whole time. Number 3, 50 Cent. The rapper once referred to Oprah as an Oreo in the January 2006 issue of Elle magazine, complaining that the talk show queen started out with the views of a black woman, but was now catering to the middle-aged white American woman for so long that she became one herself. His words, not mine. Cent even named his miniature schnauzer Oprah as a dig at the talk show host. During an episode of Oprah's The Next Chapter, Cent was invited on to discuss the situation and clear the air. Oprah visited 50 at his grandmother's house for the interview, where he explained that his frustrations lied with Oprah's lack of hip-hop artists on her show and just how much she detested the use of the N-word. He claimed that he had seen moments on the show when she would discuss her feelings on rap culture and everything that was wrong with it, going on to say that she would occasionally target his music directly. According to Cent, he called Oprah his enemy in the exchange, and he has never spoken to her again. Number 2, Joan Rivers. The late Joan Rivers actually publicly fat-shamed Oprah Winfrey on live television during her first ever live TV appearance. Great way to start a relationship. Oprah spoke out about the incident in her book Food, Health, and Happiness, and in one entry she tells the story of appearing on The Tonight Show in 1985. All was going smoothly and she was starting to settle into her role, and that was when she was asked the one question she did not prepare for. Joan Rivers asked Oprah how she gained the weight. According to Oprah, she was just stunned because Joan just asked her on live TV how she was so fat. Her words, not mine. I'm not calling Oprah fat. We do not fat shame here, obviously. Joan was acting as a guest host at the time, sitting behind a desk that was not hers, telling Oprah that she was fat. That is like next level rude. In the years that followed, Joan claimed that she loathed Oprah, allegedly calling her rise to fame completely opportunistic. For years, she believed that Oprah's only so-called claim to fame was her gift to exploit people's suffering and emotions and turning them into TV ratings. Oprah has brought on a lot of people who are suffering from serious hardships, but this is a popular format for many people like Dr. Phil or Dr. Oz. Man, there are a lot of doctors on TV, huh? Dr. Oprah, I guess that just didn't have a nice ring to it. And at number 1, Chris Brown. Chris was in some hot water in 2009 after Oprah hosted a domestic violence episode in which she showed footage of Chris's infamous video involving his then girlfriend Rihanna. After the episode aired, Chris took his frustrations to People magazine, which is a good place to go. He commended Oprah for addressing the fact that it was a problem, but that it was a slap in his face. He went on to tell people how much he had done for Oprah over the years, and how this was a massive betrayal, telling her to be more helpful. Okay, Mr. Brown. Oprah released a statement later saying that she was very appreciative of his help and charity, but that she takes domestic issues very seriously. Chris doubled down by retaliating against Oprah, telling her that she was bashing him and tearing him down rather than building him up. Well, we all know how most celebrities feel about Chris Brown these days, so I think she was in the right there. Number 10. Modeling meltdown. Cara has had a rough couple of years. The model/actress sparked major concerns with a series of very disheveled public appearances in the past few years. A little while back, a distressing video of Cara at Van Wee Airport went viral, which showed the star behaving erratically and out of sorts. She was seen dropping her phone several times, she was shaking, and she was unable to stand still. But people really started to wonder what was going on when she failed to show up in New York City for the launch of her own fashion collection. She also didn't show up to the Emmy Awards alongside the cast of Only Myemes in the Building. I'm not allowed to say the actual title. Cara also came under fire for her behavior at the Billboard Music Awards in 2022, where she appeared to be following Megan Thee Stallion everywhere she went. Several of the model's antics ended up going viral following that show, including her appearing around a corner and ducking in and out of Megan's photos while sticking her tongue out and shouting. Now, I don't know if that would be horrifying or hilarious. Now, it's hilarious. I kind of want to see that now. Number 9, The Squad 2016. In 2016, Cara participated in one of the worst superhero movies to ever be made. The Suicide Squad was a wonderfully mediocre, by-the-numbers action movie that had the thinnest plot of all time. Cara played the main villain of the film, the Enchantress. Now, while she was nowhere near the worst person on camera, her decision to take the role in the first place was a major red flag for future producers. The worst part about the project was that there's actually this really good movie somewhere in the servers of DC, but the studio executives were so heavily involved that most of the director David Ayer's ideas were just kind of left on the cutting room floor. Do we still have cutting rooms? Cara has actually mentioned many times over the years since that she had a ton of fun on set of the film. She became very close with Harley Quinn, aka Margot Robbie, as well as Will Smith's mercenary character. The Enchantress spends most of the movie looking over a sky beam while her million-eyed minions take out the squad. As I said, her role wasn't even close to the reason this movie bombed so hard. The crew were just doing the best they could with what they had, but unfortunately this is one of the biggest movies that she's ever participated in, which made her a little questionable to studio executives. Number 8, Best Battle Rapper Around. In 2016, Cara took part in a segment on The Late Great Late Show with James Corden called Drop the Mic. Now, I truly had a difficult time scripting this entry because it's just so freaking funny, man. It's only 7 minutes and I rewatched it 3 times. Now, I'm not sure who wrote the words for this bit. Maybe it was them, maybe not, but these were some truly devastating roasts. She had some perfect comebacks to James Corden. James started off his battle rap with the lyrics, "You're perfect for Suicide Squad, I'm being heartfelt, because when I see you try to act, it makes me want to end myself." Harsh for sure, but Cara was quick to retaliate. She said, "End yourself? You promise that's a fact? I've never heard of a better reason to act. I can see now the headlines all about me, Cara Delevingne, the woman who saved late night TV." Oh, just so good. Dave Franco was also involved in the rap battle, dropping some hardcore roasts on James and Cara. Now, I'm not going to quote all of the highlights because this clip is genuinely worth your time to watch. Cara's quick comebacks had many audience members in awe. This woman understood the assignment. Unfortunately, a lot of people in Hollywood felt the words to be harsh on all parts. But Cara won the battle, so she really stuck out as the one to, kind of watch out for. Number 7, distracts her co-stars. Cara is known to throw her co-stars off from time to time, but her true kryptonite is Margot Robbie. Kryptonite's the green stuff that Superman doesn't like. The pair starred together in DC's live-action Suicide Squad, which I previously mentioned, and of course Margot portrayed the clown queen of Gotham, Harley Quinn, and she still does to this day, doing it super well. While Cara spends the majority of the film making a sky beam in the subway. The movie was awful, but it was not the fault of the cast, who actually worked really well together, and they were literally the only good thing about the movie. Since the cast worked so well on screen though, they decided to spend more time off screen together, even getting tattoos to commemorate their shoot. That's a tattoo they must regret now. Cara has been asked if she would ever collaborate with Margot on future DC projects, but has maintained that the chances of it happening are pretty unlikely. Not only did she despise the end result of Suicide Squad, but she's unable to maintain her composure around Margot, and just claims that she would break too often for it to be a smooth shoot. So James Gunn, hey buddy, can you cast Cara in a sequel and give her less CGI this time? Can you do that? That'd be great. Number 6, John Hardy photo shoot. As many may know, Cara is famous worldwide for her beauty, being a model as well as an actress for most of her career. In 2014, she partook in a little photo shoot with John Hardy. The photos that came from the shoot were stunning, however the actual session to take the pics was a little bit different. When you see these models' photos, you automatically assume that they're taken during like a serious moment, or that there was not a single giggle on set. Well, Cara could not stop laughing. The team encouraged her to be weird and silly, so she did exactly that. The footage from the shoot day shows Cara dancing in the sand, making goofy faces, and being the chaotic good that the world knows her as. The photos took a lot longer to take than most shoots though, but it was well worth the trouble. Maybe the reason that she won't get casted anymore is because she's so distracting and fun. That's a good reason. That's a very good reason. Number 5, built-in detector. Okay, I'm sorry if you hate Cara Delevingne. If you made it here, you probably don't. That's great, because this entry is not for you if you hate her. This woman made me giggle so much while writing the script, especially this entry. This entry involved an interview between Cara, Margot Robbie, and Karen Fukuhara while promoting the release of Suicide Squad. These three together are just a ton of fun, and it's obvious why they all said that the production of the film was such a great environment despite it being a terrible movie. Well, in the middle of the interview, the conversation somehow shifts to the topic of those little things that everybody has on their chests. You know, I can't say the name of it, but it rhymes with ripple. Cara got so excited about the topic and said confidently that she could find anyone's ripple in the moment, claiming to have a built-in ripple detector. Margot challenges her to prove it, and Cara proceeds to pinch Margot, Karen, and the interviewer, Christine Gijbels, just right on the ripple. She actually was pretty accurate. She found them like right away, proving that she does in fact have a built-in detector. I can't think of many celebrities who have done something like that and still looked good afterwards, because that's usually associated with anger or something, but in this case it just seems like Cara being Cara. Number 4, Cara needs a Red Bull. Cara is a gifted actor and overall seems like a solid human being. So much like the rest of us, she gets tired and annoyed from time to time. Unfortunately, that feeling took place on live TV when she was promoting her movie Paper Towns. While making an appearance on the early morning show Good Day Sacramento, the interview did not get off to a great start. The program's anchor called her Carla, and then she spent the next few minutes trying to get information out of Cara, but was failing miserably. She was falling deep into those anchor role tropes, just like, hey, oh wow, that's amazing. Hey, listen, Carla, did you even read the book that this thing's based on, or do you even have time to read? Because you're so busy. She was very sarcastic with each answer to the fairly generic questions. Do you relate to the character? What was your favorite moment? Blah, blah, blah. It was then that a third anchor abruptly popped in and asked Cara if she was exhausted, as she seemed to be a little bit more excited to talk about the project a few weeks prior in London. She giggled and said that she was fine. Apparently the premiere of the film had been the night before, which she claimed to feel like the end of an era. So she was just really emotionally drained. But the anchors do not know when to quit, and one of them then suggests that she may be irritated, or maybe it was just them. Oh no. They then cut the interview short and told her to take a nap and get a Red Bull. She can be heard saying that that's a bit too far before the news anchor screeches over her and they shut her down. Now, according to Cara, there really was no bad blood here. She was just sick of answering the same questions over and over again, and like I said, she was just emotionally drained. But following the interview, the guy who popped in and was like, hey, how you doing, was fired for causing such a tense situation on live TV. So it probably didn't look great that Cara got a dude fired for being, I don't know, herself. Number 3, Planet X with Cara. Cara is the host of a Netflix series called Planet SEX with Cara Delevingne, and I feel like a child every time I have to spell that. Just let me say it. The series follows Cara exploring life's biggest questions about human lovemaking and examining issues with relationships, the consumption of adult films, and the physical appeal of person to person. The series is considered to be a refreshing documentary exploring something that not traditionally gets discussed every day. The show contains a good mix of scientific information as well as personal stories, and Cara is a wonderful host who finds it very easy to connect with her guests. The content of the series, though, has raised a few eyebrows, with the main concern being that it might tarnish her reputation as a serious, dramatic actor. That was all bull, though, as the show not only received incredible reviews, but she's even been praised for having the tough conversations. But hey, since the internet had a debate about it, I gotta put it on this list. Number 2, Wired. The Wired autocomplete interview has become a very popular format online. Essentially, celebrities just kind of answer the most Googled questions online. Cara took her turn on the show while doing promotions in 2016. Her interview is not only one of the shortest ones to be posted on the channel, but it's also the most uncomfortable. There are a lot of questions that they could use for these interviews, but of course they're forced to use popular searches. And it turns out that the world has the most vanilla Google searches ever when it comes to Cara. Cara answers where she's from, what she's been up to, all that jazz. Thankfully, Cara's bubbly personality made the interview just a little bit more exciting, but the only truly negative thing to come out of this one was the waste of her time filming it. Hey, if you made it this far into the video, I assume you realize that this woman is awesome, but hey, you wouldn't click a video called Top 10 Reasons Why Cara Delevingne is the Best? If you would, please tell us, we could do that. Number 1, Silly Billy. Taking the top spot on this list is just the summarization of Cara as a person, and probably the main reason that she's, only worked here and there over the last few years. She's just a silly Billy. I know I'm supposed to hate on her, but she deserves none of it. In doing research for this video, I found so much footage of this woman making people's day brighter or making them laugh until they cry. And besides, a quick Google shows that she is in fact working pretty hard and is actually about to be in a season of American Horror Story with Kim Kardashian. And I wish them both all the luck in the world. There's already enough hate out there right now in the world, so for now let's aim it at the people who actually deserve it. Like whoever keeps trying to make new Oreo flavors. The original one is fine. Those are the reasons that Cara won't get hired anymore. Are you sick of the bull? Well, let me know by dropping a comment on the video. Tell us what you want to see, and if you made it to the end, I honestly thank you very much. You rock, and I hope you have an incredible day. Thank you for stopping beyond the screen. Keep coming back for more juicy content, and we'll see you next time. Earlier this week, the talk show host and actress said that the program would be returning and would be in line with the rules of the strict guidelines, but the show's writers were among those who picketed the studio in New York after the show resumed filming. This past Tuesday, the National Book Foundation said it had rescinded Drew's invitation to host the National Book Awards, which I truly did not know was a thing. I just assumed that they slapped a New York Times bestseller sticker on the front and just kind of let it loose. But there is a very real ceremony that Drew is no longer welcome to attend. The foundation released a statement saying the National Book Awards is an evening dedicated to celebrating the power of literature and the incomparable contributions of writers in our culture. They went on to say, in light of the announcement that the Drew Barrymore show will resume production, the National Book Foundation has rescinded Miss Barrymore's invitation to host the 74th National Book Awards ceremony in New York. The move comes completely out of left field, as before the controversy, the foundation praised her work. Drew is the author of several books, including a biographical piece called Wildflower, recounting her childhood. The book has received massive praise and, surprise surprise, was on the New York Times bestsellers list. The Writers Guild of America has been on strike since the beginning of May over concerns about pay, proper working conditions, and the use of artificial intelligence, with actors joining the strike in July in solidarity. The cast of Oppenheimer, one of the highest grossing films of this year, walked out of the Los Angeles premiere just to join the picket line in an attempt to spread awareness and showcase the impact that the strike had on Hollywood as a whole. Now, at the start of the strike, Drew stepped down as the host of her show, as well as the host for the MTV Film and TV Awards, in solidarity with the striking WGA members. However, she has stated that she made the choice to return for the first time during the strike for the sake of the show. She said that the show may have her name on it, but that the whole situation was much larger than herself. She owned the choice and confirmed that the show had no intentions of operating against the guidelines set in place by the strike, namely the rule of promoting affected TV shows or films. She went on to say that the return to the show was her way of trying to provide what writers do so well, which is a way of bringing us together or help make sense of the human experience. The bigwigs at CBS said that her show would not be performing any written work covered by the WGA strike, so Drew essentially signed herself up to write and star in the talk show. The show, which was set to return to air tonight, normally employs at least 3 writers who are members of the Writers Guild, members that picketed outside of the studio. Speaking on the picket line, one former writer, Chelsea White, said, "First and foremost, this is obviously bigger than the Drew Barrymore show and its writers," and she continued to say that they were on the lines to stand with their union and were feeling great and just excited to be surrounded by so many creative minds. Chelsea informed us that Barrymore's show was Writers Guild of America covered. It was a struck show that is planning to return without its writers, which is just a fancy way of saying she really shouldn't be putting it back on. A union representative told the press that the guild has and will continue to picket struck shows that are in production during the writer's strike. Any writing on the Drew Barrymore show is in violation of the WGA rules, something that our team literally said would not happen. What's odd is that Drew's position as a performer on the show was not in violation of anything that the rules had. According to CBS, the show is covered by some different actor's contract than the one that's currently in dispute. So the contract, which covers talk, game, and variety shows and soap operas, was renewed by the union last year. So technically speaking, she's not breaking a guideline, but at the same time she kinda is, because while protected on the hosting side of things, writing her own material is super against the rules. Drew released a 4-minute long apology taking full responsibility for her actions and giving her side as her decision onto restarting the show. She never meant to hurt anyone, as she herself has been through some truly rough situations. She of course acknowledged the pain that she had caused people online and knew that there was nothing that she could say to make this better. She reminded the audience that the show was literally created and premiered in 2020 when we were all supposed to stay away from each other, and it was literally built on sensitivity. But unfortunately, as she said, there is not much that can be said or done to make things right or solve this problem. The situation is unfortunate. Just to explain a little bit on what's happening with this strike, on March 7th of this year, 99% of members from the Writers Guild of America voted in favor of demands that included calls for increased compensation, better residuals, staffing requirements, and protection from artificial intelligence interfering with their jobs. Negotiations between the union and the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Production. Who would have guessed that the guys at the top making all the money wouldn't want to share the money with the people who made them rich? That's so shocking. The strike shut down everything in Hollywood. Films like Deadpool 3 were put on ice until the two sides could reach an agreement. The reason Drew Barrymore is receiving so much hate right now is because the strike also put live shows on ice. Saturday Night Live, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, all of the Jimmys are on the picket lines waiting for their shows to recommence. Around the middle of July, the Screen Actors Guild and American Federation of Television and Radio Artists joined the picket line. All the actors joined in. That's what I mean. That's a long way of saying all of the actors were there now too, and I mean like all of the actors. Chris Hemsworth, the cast of Breaking Bad, Danny Trejo aka Machete, even Cal Penn and John Cho aka Harold and Kumar joined the lines. The failure to reach a settlement has resulted in over $3 billion hitting the California economy, and despite claims from the studios that their intentions are to reach a deal, they've continued to deny their workers the rights and will not even talk about the usage of AI in film, even though it's happening. Not to mention that during the strike, an insider at Hollywood Studios informed the media that they actually had no plans on signing anything. In fact, one executive claimed that the end game was to allow things to drag on until the union members started losing their apartments and houses. The AMP publicly refuted the report, but come on, why would anyone admit to doing that? Drew's part in all of this is honestly pretty minimal, but her move to restart the show while negotiations have yet to take place has left a very sour taste in Hollywood's mouth. However, the hate may not be warranted, and if it is, it might not last long. The recent news from the picket lines is that the studios and the union have agreed to return to the table, and they're starting to maybe reach a settlement. I'm just gonna say this now, if you made it this far into the video, thanks a lot. It means the world when you actually pay attention and follow me through these topics, but hopefully if you made it past all this strike talk, then you might have a heart and care about what's happening. So again, thank you, you're a great person. And so is Drew Barrymore. I'm not gonna hate on this lady because her decision to resume the show was just a little off, but she's not that off. There There is nothing wrong with wanting to work, I do it every day for this channel, but when your colleagues and close friends and business partners are all saying, hey, don't do that, that's not okay, you should probably listen to those people. Drew Barrymore's show is wonderful. There have been some awesome and truly candid moments with celebrities that probably would have never shared that side of themselves had it not been for Drew just being such a calming presence. Her interview with musician MGK still plays in my head constantly. This man was painting nails and expressing his emotions, and hey, we love him for it. So, there has been a new development though. Over this past weekend, Drew took to Instagram to tell the world that she actually changed her mind and would allow her show to remain cancelled. All of the public backlash and surely the negative comments from her fellow performers were not helping the situation. She posted on Instagram saying that she heard our concerns and would be postponing the premiere until the strike is over. PR team at CBS praised the decision, and so far it's looking like a lesson was learned and a statement was made. Hollywood will not back down. Normally I try to make jokes here and entertain you, but honestly I do not feel okay with trying to make fun of the strike, so let's end the video on a positive note. As I mentioned, the negotiations are set to resume sometime this week. With this being one of the longest strikes in history, many celebrities are very hopeful that the next round of negotiations will yield positive results. Streaming giants like Netflix, Disney Plus, and Paramount have lost millions of dollars in possible ticket sales, and several of their releases have been pushed back during the strike. So with any luck, Drew's show and many others are going to be back in full swing very soon. Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher have become a major part of the media storm this week after their character letters to Danny Masterson were leaked to the public. Danny is on trial for the physical mistreatment of several women, and he had been in custody since May, but he was recently sentenced to 30 years in prison. Even after the slew of evidence and testimonies, Danny and his team have still publicly maintained his innocence. Well, Ashton and Mila were also under that impression when they wrote character letters to the judge overseeing his case, in which they described Danny as a decent man who was generous and kind. Mila chimed in and praised Danny, calling him an outstanding role model and a friend. The letters that were intended solely for the eyes of the judge were leaked into the press. They wrote these letters well after the controversy came to light, so not only were they aware of Danny's possible sentencing, but they still decided to back him up, hence the apology video. Over the weekend, the couple released a video apologizing for the statements they made in their letters that was just the fakest thing that you have ever seen in your life. Now, I'm gonna break it down. It's tea time. First and foremost, Mila is an actress. Between herself and Ashton, it's pretty clear who's the busiest bee in the house. It's Mila. It's also obvious from the way Mila speaks that during the entire apology, it's just all lies. The whole thing is filled with the same old tropes as every other apology video ever put into the world. They understand the pain they've caused, they're sorry for their actions, blah blah blah. But you gotta hand it to these guys, they actually sound like they have their lines down pat. In case it isn't obvious, which come on, it is. They have clearly rehearsed this speech and they've got it down to under a minute. I'm not sure if they wrote it themselves though, because the vocabulary that they use is very advanced. I'm sorry if I don't believe that Jesse from Dude Where's My Car wrote the sentence, "full consideration relative to the sentencing." They actually might not be completely off script, however, because periodically throughout the video you can see them looking off of camera almost like they're reading cue cards on SNL. The video just proved that they had little to no remorse for their actions, believing that they were just trying to help a friend in need. At one point they say they had no intention for the letters that they had written to be seen by anyone other than the judge. So their apology was more of a, oh man, I'm sorry we got caught kind of thing. They're not actually sorry for anything they've said or done, they're just sorry that someone leaked their letters to the press. Like, listen, either apologize for something or don't, because when you try to make the whole justified apology thing, it's just plain rude. Supporting a man who is being accused by several women of something that is truly disturbing is a major red flag in our eyes. Mila looks so done the entire time, and she is overacting with each and every word she says. Meanwhile, Ashton seems just a little bit more calm, cool, and collected, but he really shouldn't be. Supporting Danny, especially when it comes to this situation, makes him look like a massive hypocrite. In case you were unaware, Ashton's been working with a company called Thorn since 2012. The company that he co-founded with Demi Moore that is designed to monitor the activity of underage folks online and prevent any criminal situations from taking place. The company has grown since, and it still works to that goal to this day. Which, like, hey, that is awesome! Keep people safe online, way to go! But how are you going to create an entire company dedicated to preventing the exact thing that your buddy was arrested for? Ashton has been called out by many fans and victims of violence for his hypocritical actions. There is no word on how his company is handling the situation, but so far it's not looking like they have any reason to fire him just yet. Despite his buddy Danny being charged and sentenced to 30 years, he still seems to be holding back in his apology video. The video is, after all, just like 1 minute long, so we can only imagine how much stuff that this man actually had to say. His letter was very revealing. As I'll get into in a moment, Ashton and Mila have been well aware of Danny's controversy for quite some time, yet when asked to write character witness statements, they leaped at the opportunity to defend him. Both Ashton and Mila have always presented themselves as, calm, cool, and collected people. But between Ashton's humanitarian work and Mila's career in comedy, they seemed like a wholesome Hollywood couple born from controversy. Yeah, Ashton was still married when he started seeing Mila, allegedly. But that's not my point. What we've come to learn in the last few weeks is that this couple may actually be super toxic, rude, and dismissive behind the scenes. There have been reports here and there, but they all run along the same pattern of they're terrible guests and they're always annoyed by everything. In fact, in a recent interview, past Hawk host Sharon Osbourne shared her encounter with Ashton a few years ago. While doing an interview for E!, she told the outlet that the rudest celebrity she had ever met was the guy who married the actress from That 70s Show. When the host confirmed that she meant Ashton Kutcher, she called him a, quote, rude little boy. The hosts were shocked as she went on to call him a dastardly little thing. Like, she's very focused on the little thing. She claimed that Ashton had been a guest when she was still working on The Talk. He had a very bad attitude about everything. She said he was mad from the start and asked Sharon to list her credentials, trying to play the whole "I'm more established than you are, so why am I here" type thing. Sharon, of course, is the Princess of Darkness, being married to rock legend Ozzy Osbourne, so she put Ashton in his place, which he did not like. It would be no surprise to learn that Ashton is a mean man off camera. Think about some of the segments on his prank show Punk'd. "We just towed your car away and now you have to take the bus. Yes, you just got punked." That's a real thing that happened to somebody on camera. Ashton is not the only bad apple in this relationship. Mila is also known for being a pretty rude individual, especially when it comes to interviews. As with many celebrities, she likes to stay busy, but busy for her is acting. It's not talking about real stuff. She is known for being easily annoyed by very simple questions. In fact, when asked how she was feeling in one interview, she responded with, "I don't talk about that for publication." Okay, a simple "I'm good" would have been okay, but whatever. Several interviewers found her to be dismissive, and she very clearly did not want to be there. Same with this apology video. Mila just looks annoyed. She's visibly confused as to why she has to make this video in the first place. Who was it benefiting? Why was it important? Well, lots of people, and for several reasons. They apologize for a lot of things in this video, but as I previously touched on, they don't actually say Danny is a bad guy and we know that now. They apologize for the pain that the words that they've said have caused, claiming the goal was never to denounce the testimonies given in court. For these guys, it was just a letter about their buddy from That 70s Show. But let's talk about That 70s Show for a moment, because it was not all peaches and cream behind the scenes either. That 70s Show was a popular sitcom that helped launch several careers, including Mila, Ashton, and Danny. Danny was of course on this show, but it turns out that the allegations against him dated back to 2004, where they were actually reported, like in 2004. Danny was still on the show when an investigation was taking place. 4 women reported that he had mistreated them physically, prompting local law enforcement to halt production on the show and bring Danny in for questioning. The investigation brought little to no actual evidence to the table, so Danny was let go, and the entire thing was just kind of forgotten about. But that means that Ashton and Mila literally watched this dude go in for questioning and still called him a role model in their character witness letters. It makes no sense. Their jobs were literally stopped while this man was under investigation. And when the charges come up again over 15 years later, they still stick to his side. That 70s Show was chock full of issues behind the scenes, because not only was Danny being investigated, but it turned out that Mila lied about her age just to get a role on the show. But she was already so deep into the run that they just didn't want to write her character out. Just imagine if things worked out differently. That 70s Show would have just been 2 buddies in a basement hanging out. Just basically the premise of Dude, Where's My Car? Their letter may not have been intended to call the testimonies of the victims into question or whatever, but that's what happened. Plus, yeah, it's definitely what you were trying to do. The media has been covering the situation for a long time. Danny was brought into custody in May, but the allegations were actually brought up as far back as 2017. Between 2017 and now, Ashton and Mila have still decided that this man is a good dude and a role model. I still can't get past that statement. Role model for what, not doing the right thing maybe? Yeah. The apology only makes the entire situation that much worse. The overacting that takes place combined with the obviously fake apology makes them look even worse than they already are. It was just them telling us how sorry they were that things turned out this way. In an alternate universe, the letters made their way to the judge untouched, leaving Ashton and Mila to live in blissful ignorance. Now, there are so many reasons why this apology is meaningless and why it's so obviously a fake move made for like press coverage or something, from the bad acting to the cue cards to the "I'm sorry we got caught" angle. This is just the worst thing that these two could have done. Number 10, Cardi B. Cardi is well known for her quick wit and wicked throwing arm, but of course the world loves her for her lyrical talents. Jimmy clearly did not do any research on Cardi or what he could expect having her on as a guest. Cardi was in full, well, Cardi mode when she appeared on Jimmy's show in 2017. Jimmy welcomed her to the show, to which she replied with, "Thank you." Yeah, this left Jimmy speechless. As Cardi begins the interview, Jimmy just has this look of concern on his face. She speaks with a hard Bronx accent and is very animated in her expressions and movements. He clearly asks the questions that are written on his cue card rather than actually engaging with her. And when he does actually attempt to get on her level, which was just him mimicking her reactions, literally saying "brrr" is totally right. Jimmy just kind of went along with what she was saying. If you want to laugh, I suggest you watch the entire interview. It would take me a full like 20 minutes just to go through the highlights. Number 9, Charles Barkley. Charades, the game that has destroyed thousands of relationships without a single word needing to be said. Jimmy loves to bring celebrities out on his show to play some strange games, but sometimes he likes to go with the classics. For this segment, the game was played by Ewan McGregor, Jeff Tweedy from the band Wilco, and Charles Barkley. Charles was on Jimmy's team and he suffered dearly for it. It turns out his skills as a charades detective are, well, non-existent. Jimmy attempts to get Charles to guess the title Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by performing elaborate kung fu moves and telling Charles that there were 4 words in the title. After 10 seconds of chops and kicks, Charles guesses confidently, "The Karate Kid." The buzzer sounds and the round is lost. This is when Jimmy literally yells at Charles Barkley in frustration, telling him that he was clearly a ninja and yelling, "I said 4 words!" Charles is stunned, sitting on the couch and trying to piece together how he's gonna break this man in half. When Charles stands to take his turn, he tells Jimmy that he is awful, getting the phrase "ice ice baby." He does everything that he can to relay it to Jimmy, but again, they fail. When Charles tells him the phrase, Jimmy screams in his face in confusion. Oh, who would have thought that it's difficult to guess something in charades? Seriously, I hate that game. Number 8, Rami Malek. Rami Malek is an incredible actor, being the star of the show Mr. Robot, as well as starring in several Hollywood hits like The Night at the Museum, and of course his Oscar-winning performance in Bohemian Rhapsody as the leader of Queen, Freddie Mercury. While making rounds to promote the film, he stopped by Jimmy Fallon's show for a little chit-chat. Initially, the interview is very pleasant, with Jimmy talking about how much he loved the movie and his performance in it. But then Jimmy pulls out the old Fallon charm and tells Rami that if he had access to his email or phone number that he would have called him to tell him how good he was. Yeah, Rami then reminded Jimmy that he did in fact have all of that information. There is a brief moment of silence before Jimmy becomes lost for words. Rami is smooth and laughs this one off, but only a few moments later, he touches Jimmy's hands after spoiling a scene for the movie. Jimmy's reaction shifts from a great mood to, "Don't touch me." He looks like Rami just spit in his palm and gave him the old "how you doing?" Jimmy didn't explode on camera, but considering the allegations being brought against his show, he probably took a bath and sanitizer after this one. Number 7, Dakota Johnson. Jimmy has been the host of The Tonight Show since 2014. You would think in the almost 10 years that he's been on air that he would learn to let his guests speak. While doing promotions for the final entry in the 50 Shades franchise, she popped by The Tonight Show to chat with Jimmy Fallon. As the interview progresses, Dakota starts to tell Jimmy a story about her personal life that has nothing to do with the film. Throughout, he continues to interrupt her with little, "Oh, Really? Wow, that's crazy. Eventually she asks if she was allowed to speak, to which Jimmy said, "Yes, when you know what you are talking about, what are you saying?" He then abruptly moves on to his planned topics. The interview was short and filled with uncomfortable moments, but Dakota was a trooper and ignored this snub from Jimmy. Number 6. Martin Short and Steve Martin. Steve and Martin are comedy legends. Together they starred in live shows, films, and TV for over 30 years. Recently, they've had a little career resurgence thanks to the success of their show Only Girders in the Building. I'm not allowed to say the real title. It's available on Disney Plus now. While doing promotions for season 2 of the series, they stopped by Jimmy's show during the holidays. Instead of spreading Christmas cheer though, the interview became a roast of the three men. Steve and Martin were aiming most of their insults at Jimmy, telling him he had the easiest show to fall asleep to. One of the better roasts was Martin saying, "Jimmy, I love your career, it's like crypto. I don't understand it, but I admire it." Steve then chimed in, telling Jimmy that his beard looked like a face mask with a hole in the middle. Jimmy giggles throughout the entire thing, but instead of clapping back, he just moves on to the next question. Every time they try to have fun with Jimmy, he gives them nothing back. This isn't the most uncomfortable interview in the world for Steve or Martin, but for Jimmy, this was not a proud moment in the show's history. Number 5. Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin is known for being a bit of an eccentric character in general, but when it comes to his interviews, he is either calm, cool, and collected, or just completely out of his mind. In 2018, he appeared on The Tonight Show in a very good mood and ready to just kind of exist with Jimmy for a bit. The interview gets off to a rocky start when Jimmy reminds Joaquin of his last time on the show. The two had been trying to kick habits at the same time, to which Joaquin said, "Yours was way worse than mine." And after a pause, Jimmy says, "Oh, no, not that one, a different one, I meant soda." Suggesting that maybe he was addicted to like no snow or something behind the scenes. But while people were scratching their heads, Joaquin began talking about video hypnosis, which is a technique used to stop inhaling the nasty tobacco. The conversation drifts to Jimmy thanking Joaquin for being on the show, and Joaquin attempts to say something nice but instead goes with, "Yeah, it is what it is." Sips his coffee cup. The awkward laughing between these two is what made up a majority of the interview. That culminated in Jimmy telling Joaquin his name was too long to pronounce, and he replied by reminding Jimmy about the hundreds of people that he's met on the show and said, "Hey man, I believe in ya." Number 4. Pete Davidson. Pete made history as the youngest cast member on Saturday Night Live, but he's better known now as the guy who will steal your girl. In 2018, he made his late night debut sitting with the Batman star Robert Pattinson to discuss his engagement to Ariana Grande and his time on SNL. At one point, the conversation goes to Jimmy suggesting that the late night show stage may be the best place to get married. Davidson flipped the switch and asked, why so many people even cared about the situation. They weren't dating him, so there's no reason to be involved in the wedding. He then told Jimmy how weird it was that Donald Trump was being arrested for sleeping with people, meanwhile the media wanted to know where they were having their wedding. Throughout the interview, Davidson swears over and over again, causing Jimmy to just jokingly fire him from the show. Luckily, the awkward exchange was not a real ban of any kind, and Davidson returned every time he's dated someone new. 27 times in 5 years. I'm just kidding. It's 28. Number 3, Nicole Kidman. In 2016, Nicole Kidman popped by the old couch and desk set to talk about her upcoming film Lion. However, Jimmy had other ideas. From the moment that she enters the room, he laughs nervously. As the interview progresses, Jimmy shares that the pair had actually met before, to which Kidman said, "Oh, I remember." It turns out that Nicole had actually had a crush on Jimmy. 2 years prior to the interview, Nicole actually attempted to go on a date with him, having a mutual friend set them up. But the late night show host blew his chance. According to Nicole, she showed up at his house where he just didn't talk to her and he played video games for an hour before she finally gave up and left. Jimmy claimed that he was unaware that this was an actual date, but judging by his actions, he probably thought it was a play date. His mom set up or something. Doesn't matter if you knew that or not, if Nicole Kidman knocks on your door, you pause the fortnight, man. The overall interview was fairly uncomfortable, but this was a moment that truly made us cringe. Number 2, Blake Shelton. Having someone look you in the eyes and sing to you is just so uncomfortable, especially on late night television. In 2017, Blake was on Jimmy's show to discuss his upcoming gig as the musical guest on Saturday Night Live. He kicks off the interview by heckling Blake over the cover of his 11th studio album, Texoma Shore. What started as lighthearted humor turned into full-on roasting before Blake tries to move things along. He was there to talk about SNL, but before Jimmy gets a chance to discuss the soundtrack that he's gonna play, he sings a broken version of one of Blake's songs just right to his face. He even gets the audience to clap along while he butchers the lyrics. The entire time, which is a full minute, Blake looks extremely uncomfortable, just shaking his head and waiting for Jimmy to stop. When he finally does, Jimmy moves to a different topic, but the singer is visibly annoyed with not just the lack of knowledge for his lyrics, but the fact that Jimmy was singing in a hard cowboy accent. Eventually, Blake asks if Jimmy could just interview him already, finally getting things back on track. And at number 1, Donald Trump. Donald Trump's interview with Jimmy Fallon will go down in the history books as the most awkward moment ever recorded. In 2016, while still campaigning for president, he appeared on The Tonight Show to discuss the future and his upcoming rally. Jimmy took advantage of the fact that Donald may be the president the next time that they spoke, asking if he could mess Donald's up hair while they're both still civilians. At first, Donald looks beyond annoyed, and like he may just snap at Jimmy right on camera. The audience roars with cheers though, which really seemed to shift his tone. He lets Jimmy ruffle his hair, only to reveal that he either got hair plugs or maybe he is just always wearing a wig. His hair looks like Jimmy Neutrons for a moment that went viral online. Despite him winning the election, this interview, and of course the photos that came from it, were the only thing on anyone's mind, and probably the only thing he's still remembered for now.